All right, welcome back to Good Morning Let's Basketball. We want to thank you all for 100 subscribers. We just hit that milestone, and now we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So make sure to share our podcast with your guys' friends, family, if you guys are enjoying our content, and we hope you guys can continue this road with us. These are my other co-hosts, Kevin, Daniel, and Miles. Miles making a second appearance. If you guys like him, make sure to comment it down below. And Kevin, can you kick us off with our first topic?
For sure. So if you guys are watching the episode that came out on October 3rd, you would realize we're a little late to the Damian Lillard trade. So we're going to make up for it in this episode right here, because since then, not only did Dame get traded, but the Celtics also made some moves. So kind of looking at the new look Bucks and Celtics, we can kind of assume that this will be the Eastern Conference Finals matchup that we all want to see and hope to see. And then looking at these teams, people often bring up like the same issues that they might have, and that is depth issues. And when I took a look at their lineups the other day, I kind of realized that the Celtics don't have as much as a depth problem as the Bucks might. I feel like if they meet in the conference finals, the Celtics will definitely advance to the finals, because defensively they're a lot better on the perimeter than Milwaukee is. Milwaukee doesn't really have like a defender that they can send out there. Giannis isn't going to guard on the perimeter as much. Dame for sure isn't guarding anybody on the perimeter like that. Neither is Pat Connaughton. But the Celtics on the other hand probably have the best defensive trio in the league, with now Jrue Holiday, Brown, and Tatum. So kind of want to hear what you guys have to say about this Eastern Conference matchup that we all hope to see, and who do you guys think will come out on top?
I'd like to say first, you forgot about Derek White, who is second team all defense last year. So they have him too. Personally though, I do think the Celtics are in just as bad of a position with depth. The Celtics, Brad Stevens must have bought some Peyton Pritchard stock, because currently the backup point guard is Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, Grant Williams is gone, Rob Williams is gone, Sixth Man of the Year Malcolm Brogdon's gone, and Marcus Smart is also gone. So really, with Porzingis' injury issues, I think that Luke Cornett is going to be getting some minutes this season, especially when your other centers are washed up Blake Griffin and 40-year-old Al Horford. And personally, I don't consider Luke Cornett a playoff rotation player. So I think that both teams definitely are lacking depth. Personally, though, as we know, I am a Celtics fan, so I'm taking the Celtics in that series.
I do like the acquisition that the Celtics got Jrue Holiday, because not only did they fill in that role when they traded away Marcus Smart, they filled that in perfectly with Jrue Holiday. He's a great perimeter defender, like you guys said, and I think that's where they're gonna kind of be that team that they were last year. But I think they're gonna have a slight upgrade at that spot with the point guard position. But losing Rob Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, definitely think that's going to be some key pieces that they had off the bench. And then with the Bucks, I feel like the good thing that they did was they didn't give up Bobby Portis. I feel like he's a huge piece for them coming off the bench, so they'll be good in that area. And then Grayson Allen was a good role player for them, but he ended up going to the Suns. So I don't know. That's going to be a really fun playoff series to watch if it gets to that. I definitely do think it will.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some major changes in the East. I want to start off by saying, for once, I am a little bit happy with what the league is looking like. Because last year, obviously, I was very adamant about how the West looked way stronger than the East. And now I see a really good shot at the East coming out on top, whichever team that is. Personally, I still like the Bucks and what they have talent-wise, as well as just I think it'll work better in the long run. Dame obviously has experience being successful and being kind of in that limelight, and then Giannis just knows how to win a championship. I think that experience will come into play a lot when they face the Celtics, undoubtedly. Me and Kevin were talking about this last night, about how is there any other team that could break that Eastern Conference Finals, and I really don't see that as a possibility. I mean, if Jimmy Butler somehow did his thing and he got him there again, Kevin said it, he would be basically the Eastern Conference kryptonite. But overall, I think there's no doubt that we're just going to see the Celtics versus a very well experienced and very talented Bucks team. Obviously, I still love the Celtics' chances, but again, I just like how much. I guess you could also look at it this way: when it comes to the Bucks and kind of what they have built, they really didn't have to shake things up too much. I mean, obviously they lost some big time players, but overall, I think the system is still relatively the same. They just added another piece to get a lot better. Whereas the Celtics, kind of in the same boat, but there's a lot of things in question. Jaylen Brown and how much he's going to be able to step up this year, how well, Drew Holiday is going to fit within the system. And Porzingis is also new. So there's a lot of questions around that team and how well they're going to be able to just hit the ground running. And I like the Bucks, I think, a little bit more on that front.
Sure. Kind of a theme that we all mentioned with our points was we all kind of talked about defense in some way, shape, or form. Because with either of these teams, offense is definitely not the problem. I mean, the Bucks are pretty much are going to have an unstoppable pick and roll this year with Dame and Giannis. I got Cash Money Middleton and Brook Lopez on the wings. Then looking at the Celtics offense, obviously there's no troubles. Tatum can average 30 this year. If I'm not mistaken, I think he averaged 30 or near 30 last season.
30.
Jaylen Brown just received. You said it was how much?
30.1. I'm looking at it.
30. So he should do that again, maybe even more possibly. Jaylen Brown just became the highest paid player in NBA history, so he should fucking play like it. I don't think there's going to be any questions there. But they did also add Drew Holiday, which I see him probably averaging around 15 to 18 points this year, with a slight drop in the playoffs because he kind of does take on more of a defensive player role. He did do that on Milwaukee. And you have Porzingis, who averaged 20 last year. But also, we're going to have to think about, can these teams stay healthy? Because if there's a significant player on either of those teams go down, they're going to be in big trouble for sure. But I feel like the Celtics will be able to withstand it a little bit better because they can guard the paint a lot better than the Bucks will be able to. Yeah, the Bucks do have like good shot blockers in Giannis and Brook Lopez, but I feel like Al Horford and Porzingis are going to be a little bit more interchangeable and better than those two at guarding the post. Slightly.
I'll give you
and
Porzingis.
Better on the perimeter.
Dude, I'm really worried about the center position in Boston, man. Especially after losing Rob, that puts so much pressure on. I mean, Horford and Porzingis are the bigs, but then like Luke Cornett is the backup big. Like it's a gamble. It's a huge gamble.
I
As we
Why do you
know,
think?
but
I definitely think
Why do
they
you think
gave
it's a
up.
gamble? Go ahead, Vic.
I think, sorry, I'll just answer. I think it's a gamble just because Horford is 39 years old, or he's 37 right now, going to be 38 next year, and Porzingis just has the injury history. So, but
Yeah.
go ahead, Vic.
Health being a big part, but
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like the Celtics gave up more key players for their team than the Bucks did for getting Damian Lillard. Because I feel like Rob Williams and Malcolm Brogdon were huge.
Yeah, definitely. The Bucks definitely still have their core. I mean, unless you consider Grayson Allen a part of that core, but
No.
Drew Holiday was, but he's like definitely not as big of a part of it as Giannis or Middleton. Or I mean, shit, even Brook
Oh,
Lopez is a
shoot.
huge piece for them last year. So
Yeah, but I feel like the Drew Holiday like equates with the Damian Lillard trade. Like almost, it's like Damian Lillard. I'd rather have him over Drew Holiday. But
easily.
and that you know what I'm
I
saying. So
think
like I feel like they upgraded there, but then after that for trading with the other players they gave up, it wasn't as similar to the Celtics giving up for Drew Holiday.
I would argue that Drew Holiday was definitely part of that core of the team, but it wasn't so harsh of a hit because of the person that they were getting instead.
Yeah, that's what
The
I was trying
trade
to
is
say.
what.
that is true. But
Yeah, I
would you
mean
rather Holiday or Middleton?
Middleton.
Holiday.
You rather Holiday?
I
Then
I would
Middleton.
I would rather have Chris Middleton
I think
personally.
I'd go
Why?
Middleton.
Well, I mean, the only reason you wouldn't take Chris Middleton is the injury history. but Drew Holiday has continuously just taken a shit in the playoffs. He just can't be a second option. He's not a second option. That's why I think personally he's going to be great on the Celtics because you have Brown ahead of him, you have Tatum ahead of him, you have Porzingis ahead of him. I think him as a fourth option, just settling into the defensive role, just hitting threes. Like I feel like that is way more of a situation for him than the second option when Middleton's hurt.
I do like that point, but like I did say earlier, when the Bucks would make the playoffs and like during the playoffs, Holiday did just take on more of a defensive role. So we did see his numbers drop. I don't think he shot very well these past playoffs, which kind of doesn't help the argument at all. But he did make a lot of defensive plays, and he made a lot of big defensive plays in the year that they won the championship. So I feel like when it comes to winning a basketball game, I feel like he could just help you out a little bit more than Chris Middleton could.
Yeah.
As like a fan, I like I said, I think me and Kevin are on the same page. I think I'd rather have Holiday, but I will say that when I do watch Celtics games, coming from the perspective of someone like you that's a fan, I think he was definitely very crucial in a lot of kind of their big wins and just overall, like he's probably a little bit more important to that Celtics team than Drew Holiday was. But again, just as like a fan, I guess I'd pick him.
I think the reason I'd go Middleton is because like if you were trying to trade for Damian Lillard and you kept Middleton, you're not losing a huge small forward piece. You're just like swapping point guards at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why I picked Middleton.
Anyone else think it's crazy that Holiday is older than Middleton?
No.
Drew Holiday's been around for a very long time.
He looks so much younger. Chris Middleton looks like he's got some pep in his step. No,
That's true.
not pep in his step actually.
Chris
He do
Middleton
look
definitely
older.
has some mileage.
That's what I'm saying.
A move that went under the radar, man. The Bucks picking up Cam Payne as a backup point guard while still holding on to a little shit. What's his name? God, I can't remember his name. White dude, 5'10" dude, dunk contest. What's his name? What'd you say?
Connaughton.
Pat Connaughton. I'm sorry, I don't know why I can remember his name. But they have Pat Connaughton still, solid shooter. Cam Payne, backup point guard. We've seen what he could do with Phoenix on his good days. And then obviously they kept Portis, who just came off the USA team. So I think their bench is a lot more seasoned than the Celtics bench. Just like looking, I mean, I went over this briefly, but just looking at their roster, I mean, you have Hauser, you have Cornette, you have Pritchard, and then apparently they're buying a lot of stock in Jordan Walsh out of Kev, correct me, Nebraska? Is he from Nebraska?
Whom?
Jordan Walsh, alopecia?
Oh, that dude?
Yeah, Nebraska, right?
I'm honestly not too positive.
I did. I think I watched one of his games, if I'm remembering right. But I do believe they think of him as like a defensive anchor almost, like a defense guy. That's assuming Derek White starts though. Derek White might be moved to the bench if they don't start him. So you
Derek
either
White
get
should win for this
yeah.
team. I think he
I
definitely earned it this past playoff series.
oh yeah. I am in favor of Drew, Derek White, Brown, Tatum, Porzingis. But some people choose to start Horford too instead of Derek White.
No,
But
Ford would be a lot more effective off the bench.
yeah,
They need
especially
him.
like the small ball gun lineup.
True, very true. But
Defensively, that
also,
team is scary too.
I would like to say about Derek White, the most 100% hit every bet every single time last year in last year's playoff series against the Miami Heat was Derek White 3+ threes. He never not hit 3 threes in that 7-game series. Never, not once.
The odds for that probably just stacked.
Yeah,
Oh, I made so much off that Eastern Conference Final series.
DraftKings is listening to this. They're about to boost that odds.
I'm on FanDuel.
Jordan Walsh went to the Razorbacks in Arkansas, by the way.
Arkansas, not Nebraska. Damn,
He's
so
from
close.
Kansas.
Same color though, right? They're both like that.
Yeah.
Crimson red. Yeah,
Yeah.
same. My fault.
Daniel brought up that nobody else in the Eastern Conference could come close to the Bucks or Celtics for that Eastern Conference Finals matchup. And I was going to say, I don't think that the 76ers could come close. I feel like that Harden and Embiid duo is a little bit overrated. And then The Nets, I don't think they're there yet. The Cavs, I don't think they're as strong as a team that could get to the Eastern Conference Finals, getting past the Bucks or the Celtics. Heat, maybe, but they did lose a lot of key pieces this past offseason. If they kept them, I'd say maybe they could get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't know. And it's funny that Deuce Tatum has more Eastern Conference Finals appearances than Joel Embiid.
You love to see it.
Yeah. I did see that graphic the other day, but that's going to change. No, I'm just kidding. Philly's dead. I did want to discuss with you guys, though. What do you think the rest of the East is going to look like? Who's going to finish third, fourth, fifth? Third, fourth, and fifth, I'm going to go with New York third, Cleveland or New York fourth and fifth.
Ooh, man, Cleveland. Cleveland is always a sneaky contender for me. Cleveland's up
But
there.
I
they
love their
better
squad.
this off.
Imagine if they still had Markkanen too, dude. That'd be crazy.
They still had Markkanen, then they would 100% be third.
I'm kind of interested to see what the Raptors do this year.
I think Knicks are
Did you
third.
guys,
What were you
did
saying?
you guys all lose faith in the Heat like I did? They're done, right?
No, I still
Oh,
have
yeah,
them in
they're
my
done.
top 5.
They're
No, I
done.
still have them in my top 5.
Hey, bro, it's just another time to bring up a G leaguer, man. Like they just make careers over there, bro.
They really do.
They
Jimmy
do.
makes careers.
It's funny because the Heat are starting to become like the old New York Knicks when they thought they would get every offseason player or like player that was like coming off a contract. They thought they would get KD, never got him, and they thought they were gonna get Lillard, didn't get him. They didn't get Drew Holiday either. They were like front runners for that as well.
This is my prediction for next year. I'm thinking it's going to be Celtics at 1. At 2, I think this could be a toss-up between the Sixers and probably here's why I'm saying this, right? The point is that the Bucks will fall to 3. And I think that they'll fall to 3 for a
Yeah, that's what
variety of different reasons. Huh?
you said. You said the Sixers are going to be 2 because the Bucks are going to be 3. That's how standings work. Why would you?
The Sixers at 2?
Wait, what do you mean?
And what do you mean? You said the Sixers are going to finish second.
Yeah,
No,
because
let him cook.
basically
Let him cook.
the point that I'm trying to make is that the Celtics will fall to the third place, right? I think that for whatever
You just said,
reason, huh?
you just said they'd be first.
I said okay. Let me just reiterate what I was trying to say. Celtics at 1. Why? Because they have, I think, more experience. Not even more experience.
Okay.
I just think that they're going to be better off in terms of a winning season. So Celtics at 1. At 2, I think it's going to be someone like the 76ers. I'm not 100% sold on that, but I could see it being them, maybe the Cavs. At 3, I see the Bucks. At 4, this one's tough. I do like the Knicks, but even more so, I like what the Bulls are going to do this season. I think that they will be in the top 5, and I do think that they maybe 5, maybe 4. Knicks it breaks up that by being in one of those places too. So I know it's kind of jumping around, but if I had to pick, it would go Celtics. We'll go Celtics, Sixers, Bucks, Heat, and I'm gonna say Bulls.
Okay.
You know,
Bulls fifth
I'm a-
seed isn't terrible. Maybe.
I'm a Bull, and I'll be damned if they crack the play-in.
Yeah,
And you got them at 5th.
Didn't they just
Absurd.
who'd they just pick up? They just picked up a pretty good role player.
Ron
Torrey-
Carter.
No, they had Javon.
And
Did they just re-sign him? Torrey Craig was the one I was thinking of.
But
He's not really a difference maker though.
I just think you guys are giving too much credit to the rest of the East.
But you're giving too much
No.
credit to the Bulls.
We're giving
I
too
don't
much
think so. That's
credit.
what I'm saying. Who else beats? Like, okay, so you have the Hawks in there. Hornets aren't beating them. Wizards aren't beating them. Pacers, Pistons, Magic, Raptors. None of those teams I can see beating the Bulls.
You didn't say the Knicks. The Knicks could beat the Bulls. easily.
The Knicks would beat the Bulls 100%. The Knicks would beat
We'll
the
see.
Bulls. Cleveland would beat the Bulls.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn probably would beat the Bulls.
No, they for
I
sure
think.
will. Like, dude, that Bulls team, I don't
In the
think.
standings?
Yeah,
How
Okay,
old
well,
is
so then
DeRozan
name.
now?
33 or 34, I believe.
Oh, that's younger than I thought. But still.
Victor, what's your top 5 then? And Miles, I want to hear you guys.
so first two between. I'm gonna give it to Celtics number one, just because I think that they're gonna perform better than the Bucks during the regular season. They always kill it during the regular season. Number two, I'm gonna go Milwaukee. Three, I'm gonna go New York because I feel like I have high hopes for New York. I really like what they're doing there, and I think they're gonna be a good team. Four, I'm gonna go 76ers. Five, I'm gonna go Cavs.
Damn. Y'all have faith in the Sixers, man.
Dude, they always
I
perform
didn't.
really well during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean they did get a good head coach in there finally, but I just
Are,
don't.
are we even
They
sure
didn't.
Harden is playing?
Harden's not
No.
playing. He just signed because he didn't show up to media day. So
All right.
Harden's not coming back.
I'm gonna go Bucks first seed. I'm gonna go Celtics 2. I'm gonna go Knicks at 3. I'm gonna go Cavs at 4. And I'll probably either go Nets or Hawks at 5. One of those two. But I'm gonna lean towards the Hawks. I think the Hawks are gonna have a bounce back season this year. I'm gonna put Sixers at the 6th seed. Maybe you know what? Maybe them at the 5th seed isn't that bad, but I do think the Hawks will have a year this year. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the Sixers at the 6th seed, especially without Harden. It's gonna be Maxey and Embiid and PJ Tucker. So we'll
Tobias
see how that
Harris.
goes. D'Anthony Melton, like
Yeah.
Go.
the worst max contract in the NBA? Question mark.
I'd say so.
Whose
The
contract?
worst. Tobias Harris having a max.
His agent must be fucking God. Must
That's
just walk
crazy.
in there with a peach cobbler pie, smacks it down on the fucking table. He's like, "Hey, we get the max." Walks out. That's it.
He gets it done, man.
Guess so.
Just quickly before we move on, where do we think Harden is going? Is there any bold predictions on the table?
I don't think we should pick, honestly.
I think
Judging
he's
by how
going.
the Dame trade went down.
I think he's going
Just
out
who
the
would want
league,
him?
Out the
Like
league?
bro. He's
he's
What
he's
about
on
doing.
out.
Here's a crazy idea. Heat.
It's not a
That,
bad idea.
yeah, that's not a bad idea. I like that.
Might as well.
I
Literally,
don't
not?
know.
he's gonna love Miami. We know that he'll love Miami.
What about New York? Do we think New York is gonna
Oh,
give up anything for him?
he
Maybe
fucking
Randall?
ruined that team.
I don't think New York would be interested in getting James Harden.
Yeah.
Not even
I
I
a
feel
also
like
Randall?
I think they're a little smarter than that.
do you guys think that I'm stupid for saying that I think that the main component for James Harden is where he's gonna end up playing? In what city? What state? Where is he gonna have to be year round? Almost.
Houston.
They're saying like geographically it matters to James
I,
Harden more than anything else.
I'm saying they bring up Brooklyn, they bring up New York. He says fuck no. He says I don't want to go to that city. I don't want to be there for that long. Their fans are shit. No. And I think that he would, probably want to be somewhere more on a coast or somewhere where he's going to enjoy at least the city that he's at. He enjoyed Houston, we know that. Maybe a little too
Maybe
much.
maybe the Sixers will give in and just trade him to the Clippers for some bullshit, honestly.
I don't
Maybe
know if
he'll
he'd like.
go. Maybe he'll go to Hawks because Lil Baby's hometown.
It's not a terrible idea though. Atlanta's another. Again, I'm saying like I don't think I'm stupid for thinking that he is 100% telling his agent like I'm not going to Cleveland. I'm not going to Chicago. I'm not going to New York. Nowhere cold.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Damn
guys.
near.
I don't know if you guys saw that podcast with like Kevin Garnett, that clip, and I think Matt Barnes was on it as well. And they were saying that James Harden is probably out the league soon if he doesn't like get his actions together, just because like you got only like so many times that you can keep requesting a trade because he's getting older and there's these new guys coming in and they're not just going to keep putting up with this shit that he's putting up with, and he's kind of decreasing in value as well.
So within the past week, a lot of other players have came out and expressed interest in playing in the Paris 2024 Olympics. Among some of those players are Steph Curry, KD, and Kawhi Leonard, as well as some other players like Aaron Gordon, Zach LaVine. Steph Curry expressed interest. He's been speaking with LeBron about it. So I kind of want to discuss what do we think the best lineup possible that we could send out there out of all those names that I said, as well as a good second team. So if I had to build like the best NBA starting lineup to send for the Olympics, pretty much like assembling the Avengers here. I'm gonna go Steph at the 1, or it's honestly gonna be positionless. I hate to say 1 through 5, but I'm gonna say Steph, KD, LeBron, Kawhi, and AD for a starting lineup. And then off the bench we got Booker, Tatum. At point guard we can either throw in like Damian Lillard or Ja Morant. Possibly Jimmy Butler off the bench.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who'd you have starting at the 2?
At the 2, honestly, forget the numbers. I'm just trying to send a God Squad lineup to just destroy teams like Peru and whoever the fuck the USA might play. So it's Curry, Bron, KD, Kawhi, AD. I just feel like it's all around domination. And then off the bench, we lead with like Booker, Tatum, maybe even Jaylen Brown, Dame.
Butler.
You got the second team out there to start games, and they would do just as much damage, I feel like.
You think Butler's on there? Yeah.
Second team.
They'll probably include him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It depends if he wants to play, you know. But I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure he wants to play. There was a huge list that just came out on NBA Central. I wish I could pull it up, but I can't. Of all the players that said they want to play on Media Day for Team USA, and it took LeBron to motivate every single player in the NBA to want to play for Team USA now.
I remember specifically De'Aaron Fox expressing he wants to play. Aaron Gordon, man, that's a weird one. That's
Yeah,
a weird one.
it was funny, like the comments on that, like it had the list and it said like Aaron Gordon on there, and it had him and then 2 other people, and it was like this meme. It was like, yeah, these 2 need to get the fuck out.
Yeah, like just because you're a citizen doesn't mean that you like are
Like,
gonna
nah,
get called up.
We're good off that.
Like they're not
Um,
taking the whole damn league.
Here's another
Um,
thing. I don't think Ja Morant is going to be invited to play and
Me
represent
neither.
personally.
I told Kevin that too. I don't think so.
Right. That's valid. Honestly, I didn't even think about that. That's why I kind of mentioned like Dame and guys like Trae Young over him a little bit.
Dude, have you seen the stuff with Trae Young? Apparently, because Chris Webber, right, runs the, or is it Grant Hill? It's Grant Hill or Chris Webber. I think it's Grant Hill, actually. He runs the, like, FIBA operations and, like, Olympic stuff, and he never invites Trae Young. Apparently, like, players think he has a grudge against him. Have you guys seen that?
No shit, I have not seen that.
I've never. Very interesting though.
Because he wanted to play on the FIBA team, and he didn't get invited.
Yeah,
And
he should have just even asked.
it's like, everyone was talking about, like, you know, what's his fit with this team? Like, they have Brunson, they have this, and that. But, like, Trae Young, man, that's a 25 and 10. So, like, 25
It
points,
is.
10 assists, like, that's
Great
a
shooter.
highly efficient NBA player. So for him to be
He's also
excluded,
the worst defensive player in the league, though.
that is true. That is true.
He is a pretty big liability on the defensive end. He's simply just too small.
But like Austin Reeves, like y'all saw him getting bodied all game. And
Oh
like,
yeah,
no,
I
it
think
wouldn't.
included him over all guys like Austin Reeves, but
They pulled Isaiah Thomas on
definitely-
Trae Young.
Yeah, it definitely would have been helpful to at least have another guard in that rotation, and it's Trae Young. So I think that if he's been skipped over multiple times, who the hell knows what happened? Maybe there was a trade deal gone wrong, or when he was drafted, I mean, something. Who knows? But should I just go ahead with my picks for what I think that starting five would look like?
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna go Curry at the 1. At the 2, was tossing and turning all night last night, but Damian Lillard at the 2. At the 3, LeBron. At the 4, Kawhi. At the 5, AD. Why? Because Kevin said there's no way that KD comes off the bench, and I agree with him. But when you have 4 other positions that are filled with some of the greatest players to ever do it, it doesn't hurt to have a phenom of a defensive player as well. So then you have basically nothing going on down low, and you have absolute perfect efficiency going on the offensive end. So to me, if they really want to send out their best team, what did Max Kellerman say? Laser pointer. The Martians have the laser pointed at Earth. Who do you want it? I think I would like Kawhi Leonard in that 4 spot over KD.
Are you guys sure you're not overrating Kawhi Leonard just a little bit? I know he was great. I know he was great in 2019, but dude, he's been sitting out being injured like these last 2 seasons. We haven't really gotten like a true taste of what he's capable of. Are you sure that's not going to impact how he plays on like a Team USA roster? Especially if it's not tryouts and it's like invite. Do you
I
think
mean,
that has anything?
offense would be at as high of a level, obviously, because players are going to have to play a role because of the amount of talent they have out there. But when LA played Phoenix this year in the playoffs, before he went out with injury, he was scoring 30, if not something around that every single game that he played. He was hitting clutch threes. It looked like he didn't miss a single game when he was playing. Unfortunately, he just sustained another injury. As far as what Daniel said about having KD out the starting lineup, you said that he's not needed because something about having the greatest players to ever do it in those positions. Is KD not one of the best small forwards ever? Is he not? Is he not the greatest offensive player ever? Arguably,
Yeah. Well, defensive player?
talent-wise, what he can do at his height. Defense, KD can play defense. Don't even sit here and
No,
act
no,
as
I,
if
I
Damian.
didn't. I thought you said no. What I thought you said was one of the greatest defensive players of all time too. I thought you snuck that one in there, and I was like, what? But that's not what you said. Yeah, I mean, I do. I think that my point still stands, right? If you have 4 other really great players that can get you a bucket, having a fifth is great. But I think it's also important, as you know, in basketball, to have good defense too. So, and to the point of Miles saying, maybe we're overhyping Kawhi. I don't think so. I think that Kawhi is one of those players who's just very unique. I mean, the guy has 2 rings, and he is one of the best defensive players that we've seen in decades. So he is, to me, very valuable. And I don't think that the 60, I don't know if you guys saw that statistic, but it was Kawhi Leonard hasn't played, I think, more than 60 games in the last like 4 years, something like that.
It's more.
I don't necessarily, huh?
It's more.
It's more. Yeah. So
Probably.
he has definitely missed a lot of games, but I don't think that we should. I don't know. You haven't been on the pod, Miles, when I've said like I think that when you're at that level, when you have a championship, when you're a seasoned veteran in the NBA, I think your health does have to play a huge role, and you have to kind of do this risk assessment over the course of a long regular season. And if your team is doing well enough, you can maybe afford to not play the Hornets one night, or you can afford to not play, Toronto one night. You can just you take basically a day to kind of give your body some rest, and that might be why Kawhi has 2 rings in such a long span of time, because he's taking care of kind of his health and been able to stay relatively healthy. We haven't really seen Kawhi go down with a major injury, thank God,
Dude, he
but
tore his
he
meniscus and ACL.
during a game though?
Pretty sure, yeah.
I mean, if it was during a game, how long ago was that?
I don't remember what game it was, man, but I was gonna say he even said in like an interview they asked him on media day, he's like, because they brought up those new rules they have for load managing, and he's like I tore my meniscus, I tore my ACL. He's like I've been trying to rehab these for the past couple seasons, and he's saying when I go out on the floor, I either have to guard the best player or I am the best player, and the best player is guarding me on their team. So
Yeah, so exactly. So
Sounds like a
even
sob
with
story.
the injury, right? What he's kind of saying is that like I need load management. I need to be able to
No.
miss out on 25% of the year because I still haven't fully recovered and been 100%. And I would take that 100% of the time. Like if Kawhi was playing for Chicago, right, and he needed to miss 25% of the games over the course of a season, as long as we were still in the standings and I knew that he was still going to do his thing in the playoffs, I'd be fine with it. I also think it's a good opportunity for other players that are on the bench or coming off the secondary to kind of get a feel for what it's going to be like when they have a little bit more control on the court. If you have your starting five on the court. Well, I guess that doesn't really make sense because Kawhi is obviously not all five positions. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's good for other players to kind of come into their own and get touches on the ball and stuff like that because it's only going to make them better if they don't have Kawhi in that lineup. And then when they do have him, they can play to their 100% efficiency. But I don't know.
I like your point, but like, first of all, why isn't every team doing that then? Second of all, what about like Kawhi trying to get into a rhythm, especially like at the end of the season if he's resting and the playoffs are coming? Like, how is he supposed to get ready to play, get in a rhythm, and then like also like you're talking about players getting touches when he sits, but like none of those players stepped up in the playoffs. So like, what is the point of giving them touches?
So yeah, no, I mean those are I don't really have like a retort to that. I would just say that I think that you're talking specifically with this Clippers team, right?
I just think Kawhi is I like how you're looking at the positives of Kawhi sitting and you have valid points, but I don't think that's the reason why he's sitting. I think he's sitting just to rest. Like I don't think he's sitting to give
no,
other people touches and all that.
no,
Well, I'm kind of saying
that's
both.
stupid to do that. Like as a player, you should be wanting to play on the court if you are healthy. I understand if he's sitting, if he's like genuinely hurting and he can't play, he like don't play. That's it's right for him to sit, but for him to just sit out and give other players minutes doesn't make sense.
Well, I
Also,
was saying that
Kawhi didn't
that's a
start.
positive result. What I was saying is that it's a positive result that happens. But my main point is what you guys said, which is he's trying to get as much rest as he can because later in the season they need him at full force. Sorry,
Mm,
Kevin, go ahead.
I was saying load managing. He should just stop doing that and try to keep his body as active as possible, and so we can stay in that rhythm. Kawhi didn't start sustaining these horrible injuries until he started load managing when he got to the Clippers. The seasons where he played his most games and was the most active, he was an NBA champion and an NBA Finals MVP. The year with Toronto wasn't load managing. He was the best player in the fucking NBA that year. The year
Also
that he won it with
bouncing back from that injury on the Spurs too that year in Toronto.
the Achilles injury that he had on the Spurs from Zaza. The year that he won it with the Spurs, he was very young, but the team was basically put into his hands in the finals. He was very healthy. He was active. They won. These injuries didn't start coming along when he tore his meniscus and tore his ACL until he wasn't playing as much when he started load managing with the Clippers. We've talked about it in past episodes too about players should stop. The key to players being able to keep their bodies tougher is by playing more. Simply, when players load manage, they're out of their rhythm. And I don't really know exactly what workouts or stretches they're doing on those days off. They could be doing nothing, and that's affecting them. Gilbert Arenas talked about it too. He said a lot more players this year are sustaining lower leg injuries from load management, and I definitely agree with that. I feel like that kind of steered his career in the wrong way when he started load managing with the Clippers, because that's when we started to see a lot less of him. Is when he was load managing, not because he was sitting because of games, but because his body wasn't upkeep with the season and everyone else. So he started to sustain injuries.
He did only play. I just looked it up though. He did only play 60 games when in 2019 when they won the championship. So he did take some time off even that year, even before he had come to the Clippers. But I see your point. All valid things.
Playing
Um,
60 games, I would still say is better than most. I mean, no
But
one
but
plays all 80. Damn near impossible.
For sure, but to the point that Miles said earlier too, because you were like, why isn't every team doing it? I kind of see that with a lot of other teams. If you look at Golden State, Boston's a unique one, but if you look at like Golden State, if you look at the Lakers, if you look at the Suns, everyone's doing it. Everyone's being very inconspicuous and kind of hush hush about it. That's at least how I feel.
I don't think
I don't
teams do
think
it to the
so.
extent that
I'm
at
gonna
the Clippers.
I'm gonna
think that's
reel us back in to the original Team USA topic because I'm honestly just kind of tired of talking about Kawhi Leonard. But quick question for you guys that I'd like to propose: Chris Paul has expressed interest in playing for Team USA. Do you think they bring him on as a vet with USA experience, or do you think
You
he
know,
just doesn't make the cut?
I think
I would kind of relate it to the Butler thing. Like they're gonna put him on there because of his name. Like it'd be cool to see them win or whatever. Obviously, I think they'd put Chris Paul a little bit before Jimmy Butler because who knows how much longer Chris Paul has. But I feel like they would put him on there. Yeah, I think they would.
I feel like
As like a veteran presence, you're saying, right?
Pretty much, yeah, as if they need it. But like, they're gonna include Chris Paul to get that gold medal. You know, like I feel like it's kind of like a politics thing.
Word. Go ahead, Vic.
I see.
yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think if they don't, it's gonna be similar to like Trey Young or the Isaiah Thomas back in the '90s. So I feel like just because what Chris Paul has done with the NBA and his resume, they have to include him on there. I think he's gonna take more of a veteran role.
So we can all agree that like skill wise, Chris Paul is not good enough to be on this team. When you have guys
Yeah,
like Donovan Mitchell, Lillard, Curry,
I agree.
like shit. I mean, even Drew Holiday. Obviously, they're not gonna invite him, but like I'd put him ahead of Chris Paul skill wise and like what he can contribute. So we're saying he'd come on as a vet, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's coming on named Chris Paul and who he is, not because of his skills.
Okay. I was just wondering what
That's
you
what.
guys thought about that.
Like if Carmelo Anthony was still in the league, you know damn well he'd be on that USA team. Shit, he might even come back, or not come back, but like try out.
Low key, yeah.
And why not? Team USA, Melo is the best Team USA player of all time. I know
I
y'all see
could
them highlights.
I could see a scenario though where Chris Paul doesn't get invited because of the skill level. We said it already. I mean, they're gonna have so many weapons to choose from, and as even though it plays a little bit of politics, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I mean shit, or he could retire.
I mean, let's
That's
just go through it. We have Curry, we have Lillard, we have. Does Donovan Mitchell count as a two? Probably.
I
yeah.
do.
I
Tyrese
mean, Brunson
Halliburton.
just played. Halliburton, Brunson, they just played.
I like
Fred
Murray.
Van
Fox.
Fleet, Fox. Like,
Van Fleet, I
I
don't
feel
think
like
Van
Murray's a
Fleet's
good
making it.
option too.
I only
Murray
said
is
that because it
Canadian.
says here
He is.
he
Fuck.
expressed. I only said Fred because it says here he expressed interest. So,
Uh,
but yeah, man, it's just there's no way he's making it off skill at 39 or whatever he is now. We got Julius Randle expressing interest. Do we think there's a shot?
uh, who are the other bigs?
Who do we have at? We probably have Bam for sure.
I would say Bam.
Uh,
Yeah.
so we
I
have
mean,
Bam, AD.
they're
That's
talking about
two.
they're talking about Embiid, but I don't think Embiid would play for the U.S. over where he's originally from. I can't think of the country's name.
Is it Cameroon?
I think it is.
It is Cameroon.
Do they even
It's
have
They
pronounced
have
Cameron.
Pascal
Cameroon?
Siakam's from there.
Do they? Do you have to qualify in the FIBA tournament to play in the Olympics? Is that a thing or no? Because
I
this
am not.
is it actually Cameron, Daniel, or were you fucking around?
No, I'm sorry. No, that was
Okay.
me fucking around. It's
Because
Cameroon.
I don't think I've ever seen a Cameroon team ever. Let me actually look that up. That's actually a fun question.
But I know like before, um, the Olympics they'll have like exhibitions and group stages. So I think that's how the qualification works. I don't know if the FIBA tournament has anything to contribute to it. I think it might, though. I could be wrong.
I think it.
I see a team, by the way.
Yeah, they have to definitely do some seeding before they like enter the tournament.
I wonder, besides, if Embiid were to play for Cameroon, and you said Siakam's from there as well,
Yeah,
do you think they can qualify just literally those two and a bunch of bots?
but uh,
There's
I,
no way they
I
hoop,
don't
bro.
know.
There's no way.
It depends how
Hey,
good their role players are.
so I saw a story on Twitter earlier today, and I thought it was very interesting. I kind of want to hear you guys' opinion on this as well. Basically, the story is related to Shaq and how he could be in the GOAT conversation. The title was, would Shaq be alongside Jordan and LeBron in the GOAT conversation if his ego didn't get in the way? And these are basically the reasons stating why that he would possibly be in the GOAT discussion. So Shaq obviously was a very dominant player, probably arguably the most dominant player ever. But his career would have looked a little bit different if it wasn't for his own pride. He refused to improve his free throw shooting. He shot 52% from the line. Therefore, players started to do the hack a Shaq rule because it was the only way to stop him on defense. His coach at the time advised him to shoot underhand free throws. Rick Barry shot 90% from the line when he shot underhand, but Shaq refused to do underhand free throws because he didn't want to look stupid. And a lot of players do refuse to do that as well, so it's kind of hard to blame him for that. But he still didn't practice his free throws that much because from this career, he only shot 52%. Say if he had switched to underhand or switched his shooting mechanics or just simply got better from shooting from the line, and if he had shot the league average at the time at 78%, he would have passed Dirk and Wilt Chamberlain for sixth all time in scoring. Also, with that increased free throw percentage, they predicted him to potentially average around 38 points a night. And averaging 38 points a night for anybody is obviously insane. No one's ever done that before. That could have translated to also more championship rings. He did finish with 4. It could have been 5. It could have been 6. Who knows? It could have been even more. So do you guys agree with this? Let's say Shaq did shoot 78% from the line, was 6th all-time in scoring, averaged 38 points a night during his time. Do you think he would be in that GOAT discussion, or let's say lock him even in at the top 5?
I think he's in the GOAT discussion already. I don't think that specifically improving his free throw percentage would make him that much better. I know you said he'd pass people up in points, but like I think we can all agree that Shaq is, if not top 3 most dominant player ever. That's for a reason. But also you said, I know you didn't say it, you were just reading what whoever posted that said, but they said that Shaq would average 38 points a night if he shot league average, but that's
Shot,
also 78, you said?
yeah, it was 78 league average. If he shot that, he could have potentially added 38 points a night.
So is that, I assume that this is just something to boost their narrative. I'm assuming that's including the hack at Shaq attempts, right? So if he took the same amount of free throw attempts during the hack a Shaq era, he would have 38
Well,
points a night.
if he was shooting 78% from the line, there would no be such thing as a hack a Shaq.
That's my point. I think that stat specifically is just something to prove the narrative. Like, oh well, here's all of Shaq's missed free throw attempts that came from Hack a Shaq. If he made these, he's averaging 38 a night. But I don't think it takes into the account the fact that if he could shoot free throws, there would be no Hack a Shaq. There would be less free throw attempts. Does that make sense? Am I making
Yeah,
sense?
I agree
It
with you.
definitely does. But before the hack a Shaq rule started, he did go to the line a significant amount during his time. And he was one of the leading free throw shooters in the league before that players started to do that. So it just makes him just a lot more deadly of an option. If you're going to try to foul him as he shoots and he can hit it 78% of the time from the line, it could translate to more points. 38 is a little crazy. I'm not going to lie. I don't think it would be 38 myself. It'd probably be something maybe like 34, 35, 33, let's say in that range. 38 to 40 is a little bit of a stretch. I do agree on that end. But I do think he would have seen a significant increase in his points.
I also don't think Kobe would let him average 35 points a game. I think if Shaq was averaging 35 points a game, Kobe would just start shooting more. If we're talking about that Kobe and Shaq era, just their dynamic. That might be just like a general hot take though.
Daniel,
I definitely see what
Was it you or I can't remember who said it, but someone was saying that if like I think Kobe said that if Shaq didn't have like such an ego or something along those lines, that he would have been like one of the best players to ever do it.
I mean, yeah, it had him and Kobe stayed together, and Shaq had a better work ethic than what he did.
That's what it was.
They would have won 8 championships, no doubt. Like, I know that's crazy to say, but I don't care. Like that
Kobe said that himself
yeah.
in the interview.
That is a
I- I-
Kobe quote.
He was also like speaking in, I think the proper term is like rhetoricals, but it still is kind of like of course we would win 8, but I also think there is some truth to it. I think that to the point of the hack a Shack kind of situation and all that stuff, I think that regardless, the league would have saw an issue with what was going on with Shaq in the paint, right? They would have seen that for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, because you're playing a monster on the court, people are basically going to take advantage of the rules and say, okay, like, we can take this guy out pretty much. So I think that probably would have always kind of come up. But the other point was the free throw thing. And I do think that there is some truth to it as well. I think that if he had been able to knock down those crucial free throws, or if he was just even a reliable free throw shooter for them, that would have been a completely different situation for them. I think that he would have probably averaged more points, and it's tough to say if that alone would have been able to attribute to them winning more championships, but you have to think it would too. I mean, any player that falls short of something for a reason that can be fixed, and kind of what I mean by that is like if you're a shit 3-point shooter and suddenly you develop a 3, you add that much more danger to yourself as a player. And I think that Shaq, not only being as dominant as he was in the paint, but also being a successful free throw shooter, would have made a big difference, especially the way that people guarded him.
I definitely think it would make a difference, but like I think he's already in the GOAT conversation. Like you can make a case for
Uh,
Shaq.
I don't know, dude.
Uh,
I don't think he's.
Okay, hold on.
No, I'm saying
What?
no. I'm saying I don't like. If you were like to do a poll on NBA fans, I don't know if he ranks top 5. Is what I'm saying. Because
But what about your opinion? I don't care about fans. What is your opinion?
I mean,
I wouldn't put him top 3.
all I said was he has a case. That's all I said. I didn't
No,
say he was the GOAT.
I agree. I think he has a case, but I wouldn't. I don't think I'd put him top 3
I think he's at top 2 center ever, I'd say.
for sure.
Give or take Kareem.
I think the GOAT debate is kind of redundant in a way. We have a lot of players that we will go back and forth with talking about if they're the GOAT or not. But what I want to know is he part of this club, this unique club of GTD or GTED, greatest to ever do it, right? I think that in his case, he is on that top 5 list of greatest to ever do it, right? You think of guys like Kobe, Jordan, LeBron, and then how can you not put the most dominant center that the league has ever seen in there? You have to.
In the modern era, we'll add too. That's different than like Wilt or Bill Russell. Like dominating in the modern era is a lot different too. So that
More
helps his case
difficult.
as well.
Yeah.
definitely say so.
Just
But yeah,
because some people will say Wilt was the most dominant ever, but that's not modern
He
era.
was,
Go ahead, Kev.
and yeah.
I was gonna say the thing with the championships, it was something that I just added. I said it could probably just, with his numbers increasing, it could lead to more championships, maybe more wins. But the kind of main point is go discussion up there with Jordan and LeBron. And when it comes to like Jordan and LeBron, I just don't really know if I can squeeze Shaq's name in there right now. Not considering like say if he was shooting 78% from the line and translated to more points.
I think if Shaq didn't have such a severe decline, he could have been the GOAT. I honestly think that.
But
Shaq, one of the problems with Shaq's career was his longevity and his effectiveness.
well,
It's a big run around for 15 plus years.
I
It's
was
really what
on,
it was.
dude. I looked up with Miles, and I think he said in an interview like he was probably listed at like maybe like almost 300 pounds, but he said I think it was more closer to 400 during his Lakers day.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
Especially near the end of his career, he wasn't also like in amazing shape as he was when he was on Orlando or like when he first got to LA. Like Boston Celtics Shaq wasn't looking too great out there. Wasn't looking too flexible.
Yeah.
People are
Phoenix,
saying Chris Paul.
Did Miami
People are-
win in 2004, 2005, or was it 2005, 2006?
I think it was 5'6".
5,
That's what I
6.
think
So
too.
if it was 5, 6, he was only averaging 20 points a game. And he wasn't averaging double-digit rebounds either.
Yeah.
So I guess going back to, I mean, I know I said he's the most dominant center ever, but like that's a super severe decline, especially because what he won his last chip with LA in 03? Was it 03, 2002, 2003 was his last chip in LA. It's only 2 years later, and we already are seeing him decline. So I think him being in the GOAT debate goes a lot further than free throws. I think the main thing is his longevity. That's my final opinion.
I would
Yeah,
agree too. I wasn't a big drop off that he had in just 2 years. I think that trade out of LA kind of maybe fucked with him a little bit because even in Miami he wasn't in the greatest shape either. Like he looked a little out there, but
Like his last season in Miami, 06, 07, he averaged 17 points. So like
even bigger decrease. Well, not a huge.
that's just crazy.
no, that's a great point. Being his size, like it's hard to have a good longevity career in the NBA. I mean, if he did have a longer career where he sustained that high performance, he definitely could be in the GOAT debate for sure.
So we started off today's episode kind of talking about the Eastern Conference and what we can expect. So we're going to end it today talking a little bit about the Western Conference, more specifically the Denver Nuggets. So are the Denver Nuggets the new Western Conference juggernaut? And which teams do we think can compete, potentially knock them off? So the Denver Nuggets are obviously the best that they've ever been at. I mean, fresh off the championship, they brought back a majority of the key players. They finally seems like they figured it out and are able to hopefully continue being in the NBA Finals or hopefully making anything anywhere near that. If Jamal Murray can stay healthy, keeps playing at a high level, if Nikola Jokic can convince himself that he still likes basketball, hopefully this team can stay well. I mean, MPJ's coming back. He had a pretty good season this past year. KCP played very well, as well as Aaron Gordon. They did lose Bruce Brown, who did make a lot of plays for them, but they also do have a rising young player in Christian Brown, who I think can fill that role just as fine, possibly even better. I think he can.
I don't think he can, personally. I don't think it's
But
close.
well, that kid is still very young, and he was in the rotation during the playoffs at times. He's still very young, so they didn't include him in there, but he played a decent amount during the finals as well. So I think he could definitely catch up. I don't think the gap between them would be too far from Bruce Brown and Christian Brown. As far as teams that could potentially knock them off, I personally think the Nuggets are going to run it back to the finals. I don't know about winning, but I do believe that they will make the finals this year and come out the West. But as teams, as far as that can knock them off, I don't think the Warriors are there, and I don't think they're going to be able to knock them off. The Nuggets just move the ball way too well. The Warriors struggle a little bit down low, and they're aging a lot more. They're definitely a lot older of a team. Steph, Clay, Draymond are kind of getting up there. Phoenix Suns don't really have faith in this team from the jump. I don't really feel like adding Bradley Beal is going to make you an insane contender that people are kind of expecting them to. But if I had to pick a team that could possibly knock them off, I'd probably pick the Lakers. It seems like they signed the whole league just this past offseason. LeBron's going to be out there to win it. They're definitely motivated to play against Denver this year. All that shit talk that they were doing. I think AD and Brown will come a little bit ready.
Bro, Daniel, what the fuck, man?
Bro, who was that? Oh, was that Daniel?
Dude, no, I'm laughing because he fucking.
What, he
I'm
took his
sorry.
shoe off?
Bro, I couldn't do another one. I had to just. No, I'll go next. Okay, so I
thought
do
y'all were laughing
definitely
about
think
the sirens, bro. That's my bad.
Wait,
I do definitely think
who had the sirens on?
I think that was Kevin.
it was
No,
both
it
of
was
us. Yeah. But no, I'll just kick up where we left off. Yeah, no, I definitely think that the Nuggets are kind of this new team to beat in the Western Conference. I mean, no one's looking as good as them in terms of their, just offensive play. I mean, they just are exceptional at passing the ball and getting Jokic comfortable, feeling like he's in complete control of the game. And yeah, I mean, there's just not a lot of teams right now in the league that can, to me, combat with this team right now. This is all very not premature to say, but like early, because who knows what will happen this season. It could be completely wrong, but it's looking like teams are having to play catch up to get to the level of basketball that Denver's at right now.
I definitely think there's still going to be a lot of teams that are going to be competing with them in the West. I, I don't think you can count out the Warriors. I don't think you can count out the Lakers and the Suns as well too. The Suns got a little bit deeper after those trades with getting the some key role players off the bench, but they did end up losing Ayton and getting Yusuf Nurkic. But I do, I don't know. I just feel like the Nuggets, they are great. They're going to be a good team next year. I do think they're going to be probably number one seed. But come playoffs, I definitely think in a 7 series that there could be a team that could knock them out come playoff times. Because I know the Lakers want their revenge. LeBron, AD said they have those games marked on their calendars for when they play the Nuggets. So
I was gonna say the only team that I could see really beating them is the Lakers. I don't see the Suns beating them. I don't know who is supposed to match up with Jokic, who's supposed to match up with Aaron Gordon. Like it's just, I mean, even like I don't know. Do you guys consider Bradley Beal a good defender?
nah.
I don't.
No,
I think
he's a scorer.
KCP is going to be effective in that series against Beal. It's just such a weird matchup. I think any matchup for the Suns is just a weird one. They're just
Yeah,
so I Katie's not a guard, but I want to say they're just very guard heavy. Just Katie's play style makes it seem like that, but anyway, back to the Lakers. That's off topic. The Lakers, they just signed Gabe Vincent, Torian Prince, great role players. Obviously, they brought Reeves back. Shout out Daniel. They still have D'Angelo Russell's not great, but Vanderbilt also took a dip, but I think he's going to bounce back this season. Great defender. Like AD, I don't think AD can guard Jokic, but I think AD has a shot. I think he has a shot. I don't think anyone on the Suns has a shot,
no.
and
They
I
signed
don't think.
they signed a
Go ahead.
huge, I don't know, I can't remember if you said it, but they signed a huge, or I mean traded for, no, they signed them, Christian Wood. That's a
Oh,
huge
the
addition.
Lakers.
That's a huge addition for that Lakers team, I feel like.
Here's my opinion on that. A lot of people think that's a huge thing, but when he got traded to the Mavericks, everyone thought the same thing,
Hmm.
and he fell out of their rotation completely towards the end. And I think it's just because he could. Everyone knows Christian Wood could flat out score the ball, but do they really need him to flat out score the ball on this team? When you have Russell, you have LeBron, you have AD, you have Reeves now, who's coming into his own. You have Torian Prince, a good 3-and-D player. Do we need Christian Wood jacking threes? And if he's not in a main scoring role, what is his effectiveness? Because he's an awful defender, as I'm sure we all know, right? We all know he's an awful
He's
defender.
quite bad at defense. So I just really, I mean, is he even going to be in this Lakers rotation? Let's be honest.
That's what I'm thinking about. Like, where does he fit? Because I don't think he's big
I
enough to play the center.
I
I
think he's
think he'd
gonna
have to
go.
play backup four.
That's what I was. I think he's gonna come off the bench. So like going for off bench, like with the Lakers versus Nuggets, they might have the better matchup down low for the bench for the Lakers, and they have Hachimura coming off the bench as well.
Yeah, that's right. They do have Rui.
Oh yeah, I don't think this motherfucker's seen the floor. I completely forgot about Hachimura, to be honest. Like, okay, during the beginning of the season, yeah, he'll probably be in the rotation, but later on in playoffs, you're not going to see Christian Wood.
How do we feel? Do we think Jackson Hayes will play more than Christian Wood?
Ooh, dude, I forgot they have him too.
Does anyone want to provide a hot take on that? Because I think saying Hayes would play more would be considered a hot take by a
Dude,
casual
Jackson's
NBA fan.
pretty underrated.
I
He's
honestly, I know he's a crazy athlete, but I didn't watch a lot of Pelicans games. I don't know. Did he back up Valanciunas last year? Was he their backup center, or did they have someone else?
He was probably
he's
their
more of like
backup.
he can stretch a little bit, and he's a lot more athletic. So I think they might have had him in at the 4 at times if they had him as like the backup center. I think had a mission to like go a little bit small. But I feel like he could do a lot more for the Lakers than Christian Wood can. I think he could do significantly more than the Christian Wood can.
Especially on defense.
But they're gonna need it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like, man, I think the Lakers personally are a lot more deep than the Nuggets are. I think the
Yeah.
Nuggets, after you get 6, 7 guys deep, that's their rotation.
Well, they
And that
only
includes
play
Christian
8.
Brown.
They only have an
They only
8-man rotation.
yeah.
Who's on their bench? They have Christian Brown. They
They have,
lost Bruce Brown.
dude, they have DeAndre Jordan. They didn't really use him. They have Thomas Bryant as well.
Didn't use him.
No,
They have Reggie Jackson,
yeah, that's true.
but they didn't
They
use
have,
him either. I guess they used him for like what, 2 minutes in one of the games or some shit. I remember he checked in for like one play in one of the series. I feel like we're missing someone, man. Who's on their bench besides Christian Brown? Who's their 6th man? Do none of us know?
I
I
can't
might even
think.
have to Google this because I'm not sure who they returned and who they brought back.
I think all they lost in their rotation was Bruce Brown.
And
Hold on,
Jeff
I'm looking
Green.
at their roster.
Jeff Green. They lost Jeff Green as
Jeff
well.
Green. They did lose Jeff Green, that's right. That
That
was
was
who played for them as well.
that was huge coming off the bench for him.
Damn, they have Cam Reddish too. Vanderbilt played a lot last year.
Yeah, man. After their starters, and I guess we can put Christian Brown in that conversation because he did get finals minutes last year. It's no one, dude. The first 4 guys on this roster I've never heard of. I've heard of Pickett. Andrew Funk is on this squad. Do we remember Andrew Funk?
Just see
Justin
Gillespie was
Holiday,
college, but I don't really see him finding a role on this team.
Zeke Naji. Like, dude, outside of their starters and Brown, I honestly am not familiar with a lot of these players' games. So, like,
Well, we could hear
damn,
some new
bro,
names.
one of these guys better be good if they're going to run it back because you cannot go far with a 6-man roster. Unless I'm just, like, completely forgetting who one of these players are, but I could, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take the time. I'm gonna read them off to you. You guys tell me if you know these players. If you know these players, just say yes.
Oh, I just looked through and I didn't really.
Armand
I was.
Franklin.
Eh.
I've heard the name. I have no idea who he is though. Soli Boom, Hunter Tyson, Julian Strother, Jalen Pickett. I've heard that name.
From football.
Andrew Funk. And then we
A
have
little bit.
Christian Brown. We know Christian Brown. Justin Holiday. We know, but he didn't play for them. Michael Porter Jr. We know, KCP, DeAndre Jordan, who is, does it say his age? 35 now. Don't think he's going to be a big piece for them. We know Reggie Jackson. He was out of their rotation in the playoffs. Braxton Key. Do we know Braxton Key? Peyton Watson.
Nope.
Yeah, I know Payne Watson.
Did he play for them?
No, not really. Maybe during
Colin
regular season.
Gillespie?
I know him as well.
Yeah, he went to Villanova, right?
Yeah,
I
I
recognize that
Gillespie.
name.
He was a pretty good player in college, but I said a little bit earlier, I don't think he's really going to find too big of a role on this team.
Zeke Naji? I've heard that name. Then we have Jamal Murray, Jokic, Vlatko Kankar. Like, dude,
yeah.
who are these people? Like, I don't see.
Kankar, I think he got some minutes in the playoffs. I could be wrong though. It might have been. I feel like I remember him checking in.
Like they have to make. I think if they're gonna repeat, they got to make some moves. This bench, just looking at it, is brutal. Besides Jackson and Brown, I guess, and maybe DeAndre Jordan, but I
It's so
doubt DeAndre.
because they have such a good 1 through 5,
Yeah, that's true.
and then the
Yeah, I mean, if we're definitely kind of all in on the most likely scenario being Lakers versus Denver, the biggest component of that series is going to be will to win. And even though, it's all fun and jokes that Nikola Jokic doesn't like to play ball, I do think that after winning a championship, after doing what he's done, he may not want it as much as this Lakers team. And I think that that will come into play as a major factor this year. So I do see if they were to go into a series like that, I actually think I would like Lakers more than the Nuggets. However, I did want to make this point. I think for such an organized style of ball and such a well oiled machine as their offense is, I think the most likely kryptonite to them is as bad as this sounds, I think it's the Warriors. And the reason why I say that is because to me they do play such a different style of ball, and once they start catching fire, whether it's the first, second quarter, fourth, fifth, Jesus Christ, regardless of what happens, when they start to beat a team to their knees, it can be very hard to come back from that. And I think that what's what's going to stop the Denver Nuggets is a different style of their perfect offense, and something that works not even just a little bit better, but something different, something that they're not 100%, ready to handle.
Who on the Warriors is supposed to guard Nikola Jokic?
I
Nikola.
so that was my mistake. I forgot to say no. I forgot to say that they do need to figure out their big situation, but we've seen them in the past go up against larger teams and still be able to pull off a win. Because unfortunately, you know, twos mean a lot, but a three is can really cut down that lead or blow that lead out of proportion very quickly. And I'm just speaking as someone that, like, again, when I watch the Warriors play and they start to like catch fire, it doesn't matter how good the team is playing, how efficient their offense is running. It is demoralizing to have Curry shoot 3 times and now they're within one. You know what I mean? Or shoot 3 times or pass the ball around and that team comes out with a 15-point lead going into the fourth quarter, right? It's a big deal. And I do like Nikola Jokic and that Denver team in a series against the Warriors now, but if the Warriors could potentially pull off something that gets them a little bit bigger, I think that they would have a better chance than anyone at winning the finals.
I think the Warriors, I feel like you can't count them out every year. They're always one of those teams that you automatically like assume that could probably have a chance for competing for a title. But last year, they did have like kind of a downfall. They weren't able to play road games and they just weren't that good defensively. I think if they make that switch this year, if they can get better defensively and if they could actually win road games, then they could probably be a team that could compete with the Denver Nuggets. But if they don't do that this year, I don't see them being as top contender as the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget they also did just lose Jordan Poole, which is a huge,
Yeah.
I guess not last season, but like you could consider Jordan Poole a huge spark on offense.
he
So
was.
like Daniel, like
Yeah,
what you were saying, they could just shoot people out of games. Jordan Poole was a big part of that too.
I have a lot of faith in the Warriors as an organization, though. I mean, a few years back, like people were saying that, and I don't know if it's still an accurate fact, but that the Warriors have probably the best player development in the league, and I think that whoever they end up getting, whether it's a trade or free agency or whatever, they will make absolute best use out of that player. I think for them to let go of Jordan Poole said a lot about how much they value just how much went into that decision, because like you said, he helped win them a finals. So, that all comes into consideration, and for them to still sit in that room and say we can go away from him, I have a lot of faith that they're probably going to bring in some big guns and try to maybe bring in 2 or 3 other players that are better than Jordan Poole that was his entire career. Who knows?
Yeah,
Another
bring in
piece
40-year-old Chris Paul.
Another piece they
Right?
lost to off the bench was Dante DiVincenzo in free agency.
That's true. Who else was in the rotation last year? Was
Kevin
it
Looney.
JaMychal Green? Is he still on the roster? Do we
I'm
know?
not
I feel like he got traded. I could be wrong. Fuck it.
Kuminga, Wiggins.
Yeah, Kuminga.
Oh, Moody. Moody too. Moody
Yeah.
played a lot.
Moses.
Moody was good last year, I
Gary,
thought.
Gary Payton has always been somewhat good for them.
A lot of guards. A lot of guards.
Oh yeah.
They've
Not
They
never
went
very
had.
all
hard.
in and they went all in on that and won 4 championships.
You got what? Curry, Clay, Moody, Chris Paul, Gary Payton. 5 in the rotation.
Yep. 5 guards.
I just wanted to circle back real quick and just mention, I don't think a small ball lineup will work against the Denver Nuggets, just because I view everyone in that lineup besides Jokic as a very versatile player. Players that, like, we have Murray, who's a big guard, quick but still big, and he does post up occasionally. Then you have Michael Porter Jr., who obviously we know never shoots a contested shot apparently, expendable player. Aaron Gordon, we saw him, can't remember what game it was, but just completely dominating in the post. Was that the finals? When he did that against the Heat, where he scored like 14 in the first quarter?
Yeah,
Was that the finals?
Great, yeah. I believe that was game 1.
Yeah. Also extremely athletic, great defender. I'm sure he could guard Draymond Green in the small ball lineup. And then who am I missing? KCP, obviously a great 3-and-D player, quick. Like, I feel like they could guard the small ball, but the small ball can't guard them in the post. I feel like Denver wins against the small ball matchup.
I
Personally.
believe so.
Yeah. Only thing I will say is that I think the biggest difference on that Nuggets team and how proficient they are at scoring versus the Warriors team is I think there's a little bit more chaos that goes into the shooting chances, or the amount of shooting that goes into the Warriors versus the Nuggets. To me, it's a lot more formed, right? Guys aren't really taking too many shots out of where they're supposed to be. They just, again, they play very organized ball. So those guys are great at shooting from exactly where you expect them to be or exactly where they're supposed to be. Versus the Warriors, you have a lot of, moving offensive pieces, and a lot of times, things get chaotic, and then, oh, Clay's 40 feet away from the hoop and pulling it. That's a bad example, but you get my point.
Denver better make some moves if they're going to win again. Final statement.
Agreed.
Also, never
Uh,
count them out, though. We've learned that the hard way.
if it ain't broke,
Pretty
don't
much
fix it.
They pretty much walked to a ring last year.
It is broke, though. They lost Jeff Green and Bruce Brown.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a little broke.
At insane. Bruce Brown does suck a little bit, but I feel like I feel like they can fill the gaps.
They'll definitely, I think they'll make a move at the deadline for sure. That'll give them a solid piece.
So that concludes this week's episode of Good Morning Let's Basketball. We appreciate you guys tuning in. For any new viewers, we continue to see you guys. We want to thank you again for helping us reach our goal of 100 subscribers. Next goal is 1,000, so make sure you guys are staying active on our channel. Share, like, and subscribe. Follow all of our socials at Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Link in the description. And we'll see you guys next week.